Is there scientific proof for precognition? Here's a question for you. What is your own experience of precognition? A neuroscientist, Dr. Julia Mosbridge, had a very vivid dream about her grandmother telling her that she had always read from right to left. The dream was so clear that it made the neuroscientist wonder about a family heirloom in the form of a scroll. Relatives always thought that the lettering was Chinese, but it turned out to be Hebrew. Dr. Mosbridge had DNA tests done, and the tests confirmed her Jewish bloodline via her grandmother. Somehow, nobody in the family even suspected that they had a Jewish heritage. She then started doing research on precognition, where you feel something is going to happen and it does. Or you had a dream and then see the dream played out in your waking life. Her conclusion was that it is possible to develop this sense of precognition. Mediums and psychics develop this sense to a greater or lesser extent, depending on how strong the sense is that they are born with. There's a belief that the seventh son of a seventh son is always born with special powers and a gifted healer, or born to be a vampire. What does a medium do and why? Now that you know what equipment a medium uses, the next question is, what does a medium do? The main purpose of mediumship is to provide proof of life after death. Most people struggle with the concept of eternal life. Do a little test and ask your family and friends whether they believe in eternal life. I suspect you will get either of the answers. No, I don't. This is it, so make the best of it. Yes, I do. Don't ask me more about it or how it works. Or, I don't know, I don't want to talk about it. In my experience, the people who struggle most with the idea of even discussing eternal life are those who confess every Sunday that they believe in eternal life as long as it has nothing to do with reincarnation. That's left for Jesus and nowhere else. These people will tell you that consulting with ancestors is a primitive superstition, but it's okay for them to have conversations in their minds with their deceased parents. Most people who contact a medium want reassurance while grieving their loved ones. They feel they have unfinished business and they want to conclude conversations, or at least get assurance that their loved ones are okay after death. Often people also feel that their deceased loved ones are in the room with them, and then they start questioning their own sanity. I've had some fascinating experiences with clients who came to me to alleviate their grief. On one occasion, an elderly lady wanted to give her son a bunch of flowers. There was something very businesslike and unemotional about the transaction, and I needed to tell the son to focus on edible and healing flowers. It turned out that his mother was a florist and a botanist, and throughout her life, she wanted to interest her son in the healing properties of flowers. When he consulted me, it was because he had very persistent dreams about his mother trying to communicate with him. He told me he regretted not learning more from his mother because he had developed a recent curiosity about natural healing. I told another client that in the near future, she would have a little windfall, which would allow her to pay off her mortgage to the penny. She contacted me a few months later to let me know her mother had suddenly passed on, and her inheritance was enough to pay off her mortgage to the penny. A distraught client came to me because of the physical and emotional hell her mother was experiencing with a husband who had dementia and was violent and volatile. They were both at the end of their tether, and I had a clear message for them that they would experience relief within 4 months. I could feel they wanted more, but all I could do was repeat the message. Just over 3 months later, the client contacted me to inform me the man had passed on suddenly. She and her mother were both exhausted and at the same time concerned about his well-being in the afterlife. I could give them the assurance that he had arrived safely, and he loved them in his new state. I had my own experiences with someone passing over. When my father died, I was living in England and he was in South Africa. He was struggling with Parkinson's and Alzheimer's at the same time. I had a very vivid dream one night where he came to visit me in England, and we had a lucid and very pleasant conversation about his future plans with no sign of his illness. 3 days after that dream, I was sitting in my lounge, and I felt as if I was being plucked from my body and pushed back again. When I caught my breath again, I knew that he had passed on, and a few minutes later my brother called me to confirm his death. My dad has since then visited me in my dreams several times.